What's up, engineers? IndyDevDan here. We have an action-packed video today. GPT 4.5 was released. And moving on from that, no, GPT 4.5 is an amazing model. Unfortunately, it's insanely expensive to use through the API. It's only really usable for ChatGPT Pro members. But of course, we need to focus in on the most important release potentially of the entire year, Claude 3.7 Sonnet and Claude Code. Not only did Anthropic release the absolute best base model, they released a hybrid base reasoning model with thinking capabilities embedded inside of the model. They've effectively released two models in one. And not only did they release a 2-in-1 model, they also released Claude Code. You've likely been using this. If you're a fan of the IndyDevDan channel, you know how important AI coding assistants are. You know how important agents are. This is an absolute crash out release, okay? I'm telling you guys, when I saw this, when I read through this, I started to lose my mind. In this video, we're going to showcase several examples of how powerful this can be. And of course, we're going to use Claude Code. Now, we're going to break this down because this release changes things. The most important image here, it's this one, agentic tool use. The accuracy to be able to call the right tool at the right time is very, very, very important for the agentic future that we're moving into, for building out effective, powerful agents, as we've been discussing on the channel for the previous few videos. One more thing I want to point out before we jump in. I am kind of mind blown that they called this 3.7. The first thing I thought when I saw Claude 3.7 Sonnet is, holy crap, how far ahead are they inside the lab? They bumped Sonnet up only 2 points, and they gave it reasoning capabilities, and it's the state-of-the-art base model now, and they kept the price the same. This is absolutely incredible. Let's dive into it. What are we talking about today? What's the idea for today's video? How can we, make sense of this and get value in? All these incredible tools don't matter at all if we can't understand them, build them, and use them in our tooling and our developer workflows, and then deploy them against real problems to actually create value, okay? Let's be super clear and really honest about, a lot of the tech ecosystem. There are shells among shells of content creators and digital media idea pushers that don't actually use this technology and build with it. I hope you can tell we actually build here on the channel. If you've seen more than 2 of my videos, you know that that's the case. I always try to take everything we're getting, all this incredible generative AI technology, and I always aim to create useful packages of information and ideas and patterns and principles. And I try to, hand them to you as much as I can every week here, every single Monday. So this week, I have something that I think will be really helpful. I have the Claude 3.7 Sonnet starter pack. So inside of the starter pack, you basically have everything you need to understand every one of the key capabilities of this model. So that's what we're going to work through today. This is going to be linked in the description for you. This is my current model ranking, and I'm super curious to see what you think about this. Leave a comment down below. What do you think the current model ranking is in terms of raw power and intelligence, despite any costs? I completely forgot to add O1 in here. That's going to be pretty high ranking too. Let's dive in. Let's break down the new 3.7 Sonnet hybrid base plus reasoning model, and let's talk about Claude Code. So let's go ahead and open up the Claude 3.7 Sonnet starter pack. We got to talk about the model stats. 200K in, 8K out. As you'll see in this video, you can extend the output tokens to 128K. This is pretty crazy. And then of course, even crazier, we have 64K thinking tokens that we can allocate. We're effectively turning on and off our reasoning model capability with 3.7 Sonnet at will. Okay, so we're doing this whenever we want. We have one of the most up-to-date models by far, November 2024. Fantastic pricing, effectively no changes, and they've boosted the capabilities. I think they kind of learned a hard lesson from releasing Haiku at that frankly, really terrible price. We're going to dive into my extended thinking intelligence guide. Here's kind of how I'm framing where to set your thinking budget when you're using the intelligence model. Basically, there's almost no reason to use any one of these high settings unless you're solving incredibly difficult, challenging problems, okay? But we're going to get into that in a second. Let's just go ahead and fire up some examples, all right? So we're going to start from the most simplest. We're just going to recap the simple examples, and then we'll move into some of the high-hitting examples. And you know what? Actually, scratch that. I'm too amped on this stuff. We're just going to hop right into prompt with extended thinking. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to open up this file. And at the top of every one of these files here, you're going to see clean and clear instructions on how exactly to use every single one of these scripts. These are powerful single-file UV scripts. We've talked about this in previous videos. This is a fantastic way to isolate code. It's a great way to run proof of concepts, and it's a great way to run, as we talked about in a previous video, single file agents. Moving on, let's go ahead and copy this, and let's just paste this in and fire it off. So you can see here right away with the parameters here, we're setting both a thinking budget and a max tokens now. So let's fire this off and let's check out the output. So I've got this all formatted here for you. So we have the request to Claude, explain quantum computing to me, all right? And then we have a thinking budget, right? So we're setting the minimum thinking budget, 1,024 tokens. So this is the raw API response coming back from Claude. And you can see here we have a different type of structure than we're used to, right? We have not just the response block, but we also have a thinking block, all right? So there's the signature of the thinking block, which is just a hash. And then we have the actual thinking tokens, right? So now this is visible to us. So you can see it, just working through the examples, it's kind of setting up its response. And then finally, it's responding. And if we scroll down here, you can see here, right, that classic reasoning setup. We have thinking tokens first, and then we have the actual response afterward. At the bottom of every one of these scripts, I've added the token summary for you so that you can just kind of quickly see what the cost looks like, right? So we have input tokens, output tokens, and now we have thinking tokens that we can push up and down based on our use case. So if we look at the script for a moment here, you can see we have our parameters that we can play with. An important thing to note, the minimum thinking budget is 1,024 tokens. So if you need the reasoning model, this is the minimum value you should set. Classic model setup here, nothing special happening, but you can see this is the new input structure for enabling thinking mode. You specify this thinking parameter, and then you say enabled, and then you specify what your budget is, right? So this is the budget tokens. So very cool. And then nothing special happening down here. We're just outputting the result and formatting. Really powerful, really simple, right? Kind of a great simple API. Let's go ahead and look at the prompt extended thinking with streaming. So let's go ahead and push into the actual value that reasoning models give us. They enable you to solve hard problems where the model always benefits from having time to think. Just like you or I solving a hard problem, thinking through a complex scenario. I really love that simple example, right? If someone asks you a question that's challenging or difficult, you don't just blurt out the first thing that you think of, right? Some of us do. So when you're confronted with a hard problem, you sit and you think, right? That's what these thinking budget tokens give us. Here's a whole list of actual reasoning problems that you can work through here, that you can look at. The answers are right above it. So let's go ahead and just copy this one. And let's let this rip. We have 2,000 token thinking budget. This is a simple math problem. And this is a cool streaming example, okay? So this is a prompt with extended thinking with streaming. Let me go ahead and run that again. So I'm gonna paste this again and then check this out. So we have the prompt, tokens, and then you can see the answer getting streamed in here, right? So you can see the live thinking process of our model. And now here's the response, bam. And there's the output. Let's go ahead and check it against the actual answer, 489.24. That's the exact correct answer, right? So this is really cool, right? We have both the final answer, but we can also see how our model got there. And you can see this one actually took up some thinking tokens. This was actually a math problem that required some real thought from the model. So you can see here the output tokens was just 60, but it took 232 tokens to actually think through the answer and give you a solid response. So to be 100% clear, this is what these powerful reasoning models are all about. And now you have full control over the scale of intelligence of the model with the thinking budget tokens. Let's just go ahead and run another one. This is a simple, logical puzzle. A says that B is lying. B says that C is lying. C says that A and B are both lying. Who is telling the truth, right? So we can give Claude 3.7 some time to think here, and we can see that thinking getting streamed in. Really working through this problem with 2,000 tokens, and now we have the answer. So now it's formatting the actual output for us. Bam. Therefore, B is the only one telling the truth, and I've worked through this problem. B is telling the truth. So this is the correct answer. Really powerful, really capable. And you can see here, again, I just love the visibility here. And I love the fact that we can peer into the model. And, this is something that Anthropic mentioned is going to be really important for model safety moving forward. And I think it's just a great approach for that, right? When you can see the model thinking, it's a lot easier to understand how it's deriving the actual answer for you, right? So this is awesome. I think you can kind of get a good idea of the primary capabilities of the extended thinking. Let's go ahead and continue working through some examples, but let's fire up Claude Code. If we clear the terminal and just type Claude, you can see here I have 2 MCP servers connected. We'll talk about these in a moment, but let's just at a high level really discuss what this is, okay? What is Claude Code really? Anthropic explicitly mentions this a couple times. If we just search agent, you can see this keyword coming up a couple times. Okay, this is a very, very important keyword and paradigm shift that's happening right now. We're moving up the abstraction chain of generative AI. As we've talked about in many previous videos over the course of the past 2 years, you start with a prompt, then you move to the prompt chain. Prompt chains are also known as these agentic workflows or graphs. But then the next step is give the agent the tool it needs, give it a powerful model, tell it how to solve your problem, and then let it run off and actually solve the problem for you. To be super, super clear, what is Claude Code? Claude Code is an AI agent. This is pure genius from Anthropic, a research preview developer tool where we pay for their model, send them our prompts, so that they can improve the tool and their model. I have upped my token usage, maybe I'll throw a photo on the screen, 100-fold using the new Claude 3.7 model in agents and in the new Claude Code. What can we do with this tool? I just want to run a couple commands that showcase what this thing can really do. We had some examples here, right? Some puzzle examples. Claude Code, obviously it can write code. You're going to see 100 videos on Claude Code, writing code. We'll dive into that a little bit more later. I want to stress how important it is that this is an agent. So we can do agentic things, right? It has several tools available. List files, respect, get, ignore. Now Claude is thinking, and it's going to use one of several tools available to it. It's not using traditional ls, it's using get ls files, okay? So I'm going to hit yes. This model called the bash tool. Let's run something else. Update, and I'm going to use a hotkey. I strongly recommend that you set up this hotkey. For me, it's Command-Shift-R. Now I have the relative path to this file. So I'm going to paste this in, and I'm going to say update this file, add a usage example. All right. So Claude Code kicking off. It's running a read tool. There was a bash tool. Now we're running the read tool. It's reading this entire file, right? I think that's the entire file. Yep. 253 lines. It's thinking, it's working through this. It's understanding what it needs to do. And then in a moment here, it's going to call the update tool. Okay. Update tool requires the file path, and it also is going to have, whatever it's actually going to update with, right? So you can see here, here's another example. It's a little too heavy for me, so I'm going to say, just going to tap escape, just add the UV run, what is the ... to the usage examples, nothing else. As incredible as this tool is, it's still going to make mistakes, right? So there we go. So I had to be more specific with my prompt there. And do you want me to make this edit? Yes. So this is really cool, right? You can go into YOLO mode, or you can run one by one. All right. So I'm going to hit yes. And then you can see there, it ran update file with that change. I just want to really emphasize this point. We have update, we have read, we have bash. This is an agent. This is an AI agent. It has a suite of tools, a really powerful prompt, right? A powerful comprehensive prompt. As you likely know, you can connect to model context provider servers. If we just go ahead and clear and rerun, you can see there I have these two servers connected. Let's hop into our server fetch example. So this file showcases how you can add an MCP server directly to Claude Code. I've already run this. So basically you run Claude MCP add fetch, and then you specify the CLI arguments that you would need to run this. We're using UV so that we don't have to do any setup. And then you can run Claude MCP list. If we open up a new terminal here and run this, you can see I have those two servers set up, and you can see the exact commands, right? So we're going to run my local MCP server in a moment here. Let's just go ahead and run this, simple fetch example. Copy one of these examples, and I'm being super low level here with this prompt. I can, be a lot looser with it. You can see there, it's calling the fetch tool, and there's the response. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and pull from the Principled AI Coding page and list the names of the lessons and descriptions of every single lesson. So let's copy this, paste this, and let's watch Claude Code get to work. So again, it's calling that fetch tool. The tool has pagination built in. It's going to, get the next n pages so that we don't get too much back in one shot. But you can see this right here, right? These are all the names: Hello AI Coding World, know your IDKs, spec-based AI coding, let the code write itself, so on and so forth. It's doing a great job here. It used that tool and it processed everything exactly the way we needed it to, very, very quickly. And again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it just called a tool. These are tools that the agent has access to and can properly call. This is why in the beginning, I mentioned that this is the most important benchmark chart here, okay? It's the agentic tool use. I don't think it's truly understood currently how important this benchmark is. You need to be able to call the right tool when you need it for powerful agentic tools, applications, and to build powerful agents. You need precise tool calling. This is great. We can do even more with this, right? So we can do the same thing. It's an agent. So you can just ask it stuff back to back to back. So we're going to do the exact same thing. And then we're saying, then write these to a markdown file. All right. So just a couple more examples here. I just want to, really nail this point home. Searching through the page, thanks to this tool, it's making multiple tool calls to fetch. And then at the end, it's going to, there we go. It's going to run the write tool. Okay. Write tool, right? You can see file path. Let's go ahead and say yes. Normally I run this in YOLO mode and it just kind of, does all the work for me. We can type GS, this is get status, and you can see that new file created there. Let's open that up. Here's all the lesson names and the description. Okay, so all I want to do here is dial in the point, the idea that this is an AI agent with a slew of tools that you can call in any order as long as your prompt communicates that to the agent. And if you're using this tool, you understand that, you're working through that. But this is just such an important point. Why? Because Claude Code is just a single agent. All right. It's one agent. There are going to be many, many, many more agents. And you, as an engineer, can build and harness the capabilities of these agents. The really key important part is that you understand that these agents are a series of tools powered by a great prompt, fueled by a great language model. And this is part of why this release is so great. Claude 3.7 is exceptional at calling the right tool when you need it. Super impressed with the coding capabilities of Claude Code. We'll dive a lot more into actually using this tool. There's a lot of chatter right now, does this replace Cursor, IndyDevDan? In their release, they explicitly mention, Cursor, mentioned Claude cognition, right? So Devin, far better than any other model at planning code changes and handling full stack updates, right? Basically what they're saying here, what everyone is saying, is that this model powers my agents very well. All right. And then of course, it's great at coding too, right? It's kind of expected. This is the, Claude 3.5 Sonnet was the best in class base model for coding. 3.7 takes it to the next level. And again, I'm super, super mind blown that they only gave us 2 points here, right? They only incremented the minor version here by 2 points, 3.7. What else do they have in the bag? So let's go ahead and run my local MCP server. All this is going to do is just call a weather endpoint, but this really showcases how quickly you can set up a MCP server when you have the right tooling. So basically you just run this and then you fire up Claude. And of course, make sure you have UV installed. Let's go ahead and open up Claude. And you can see here we have this local weather MCP. Now we can reference and just call our weather tools. We can just copy this one. What is the weather in Germany right now? Just go ahead and fire that off. And you can see there, my tool is getting called, right? My MCP server, get forecast, passing in the parameter Germany. All right, so that's getting called, 37, partly cloudy. Wow, high humidity there, right? All right, so great. Call it again and again and again, right? It's an agent. Just push it, push the compute, right? So now it's gonna make 3 tool calls. Bam, bam, bam. Germany, Chicago, San Fran. Very nice, all right? Push it even further. Get the weather in all of these places, output it to a markdown file, right? So copy, paste, same deal. Push the capabilities, push the agent, see what it can really do, right? I can almost guarantee you, you're not pushing this agent far enough. You're not pushing agents far enough, especially when it's powered by this incredible Claude 3.7 Sonnet. Look at this. So, pull the weather. It's calling the create tool, right? And of course, we're gonna hit yes. Now it's saved. GS, get status. We now have that new weather file. Open that up, format it. Nice breakdown of the weather, right? Single prompt, firing off, 6 tools. And, that's the kind of key idea here. I know I'm being repetitive. This hasn't been made clear enough. The actual innovation that's happening here. Claude Code is incredible because it is putting together the model that can call the series of tools to get the job you want done completed, right? That's the real innovation here. It's the model, it's the framework of MCP, and it's a great showcase of those things coming out of Claude Code, right? And of course, some of the obvious commands here, we can hit /cost. Looks like it's modeled very closely after Aider and other great terminal-based tools. Let's go ahead and push it even further. Here's a fun one, right? Warmest to coolest, list the temperatures in the capital of all these countries, and then output to warmest, coldest capitals in a markdown table, right? So, all right, so you can see here, Washington, D.C., unknown, unknown, unknown. And now it's trying again. Now it's doing something really cool. It's firing off a task. I don't know if there's a lot of documentation on the task tool. Let's go ahead and see. Yeah, so there's not really any documentation on the task tool, but the task tool in itself is really interesting. You can see here it's fired off, it missed, and then it created this task. So this agent is kind of passing off work to a sub-agent. Very important idea there for agent orchestration and context management. Then we got a bunch of additional weather calls, and then we got the create, and now we can fire this off. You can see that is coming in sorted. And once again, we can just click open this file format, and you can see there we have capital, country, temperature, top to bottom. The agent is doing a series, a chain, a job set of work for us, and we are typing in natural language. We're making sure that our prompt is communicating what we want, and we're moving more toward prompting something like this is a lot different than prompting a crap ton of code. So you don't really need the low level prompt details that we discuss in principled AI coding. But you can see here, just with the right details, with the right amount of information, we have 10 tool calls happening, right? And it's all about that information density in your prompt. Are you communicating the right ideas to your agent to get the job done? So incredible stuff there. That's the local MCP server. Again, all this stuff is going to be linked in the description for you to check out. Really dive in and understand how this is set up and how you can build your own MCP servers, how you can reuse existing MCP servers. There are quite a few MCP servers that you can get and use just right out of the box, right? All the ones you would expect, SQLite, right? We have Postgres, then we have tons of third-party tools. So, it really is looking like Anthropic with Claude Code, they are paving the way in this next age, in this next kind of phase of generative AI, where what you really want is to be plugged up to all the right agent tools, right? And then you want a powerful model that can guide your agent so that it's always calling the right series, the right steps, the right flows of tools with the right parameters. Really big idea here. Once again, on the channel, we're right on track. Agents. Check out the previous few videos where we talk about agents. prompt with extended thinking, and tool use. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this, open up this file, scroll to the top. As I mentioned, there's going to be complete examples in every one of these scripts. You can just copy and fire off yourself. So I'm just going to paste this in, and you can see here we have a couple of tools, right? So now we have 2 tools, and what's going to happen here is that Claude 3.7 is going to run the right tool based on our prompt, right? So you can see here, prompt, what's the weather in Minneapolis? What should I wear? And then we're giving it a little bit of thinking budget, right? The minimum thinking budget. A little bit of thinking helps the model. It really doesn't need to think here. Just as an example, you can see exactly what's happening here. All right, and so we're thinking through, there's the output, and it's calling those tools, right? Tool use request, location Minneapolis, great. There's a response, and then we have the another tool use request, get clothing recommendation, and this in itself is just another prompt that's running, and it is returning this, right? I recommend wearing a medium weight jacket, blah, blah, blah. So just a simple example that you can work through to understand how you can call tools with Claude. Let's go ahead and continue pushing here. Let's look at the biggest, most heavy hitting example. We can prompt with extended output and extended thinking and streaming. Let's go ahead and just look at what's happening here. Another great part about Claude 3.7 Sonnet is that it is very precise and it truly follows your instructions. So when we say something like this, generate a 10,000 word comprehensive analysis on renewable energy technologies. We set a high max tokens, and then we set thinking budget, okay? And then I'm enabling extended output, right? 13K tokens out. This is gonna go above the 8K output that Claude has here, right? So we need to boost this up to a potential 128K out. So we can copy this and fire this off. This is gonna be really cool. So here it is. Here's our live, stream, right? Our live stream of the thinking process. You can see Claude thinking, and now it has the answer. And now it's just going to run through these tokens, all right? So what did we ask for here? We said 10,000 words. So you can see there, 500. This is gonna just keep ticking up. It's scrolling out of view here. So we're just going to wait for the response words to come in here. But this is pretty incredible, right? We're getting insane model instruction following. Again, we have other examples here. Be careful when you fire these off. This will, hit the API and likely, consume the tokens it takes to respond with the prompt, right? The extended output token flag really enables you to push the output of the model far beyond any model we've really seen before. So you can see here it's still pushing, right? 3K tokens, you can see it's about 10% of the total available token usage. That's great. You can see it only used 300 tokens to think, far below the thinking budget we gave it of, what do we give it here? 8,000. Yeah, this is not a reasoning problem to solve, right? So we could have easily dropped this down to 1K. While this is running, let me give you my quick guide here on intelligence, right? How much intelligence do you really need to solve any problem? A big takeaway here is that we now have fine-grained control over the reasoning capabilities of this powerful model. So this is the way I like to slice it up. Basically, we have extra small intelligence all the way up to 4XL. You basically will never need this. You basically will never need to push the model this far, this hard. It is a lot more likely that you'll push into these ranges, given that you're solving an interesting enough problem where the model actually needs to think. As Anthropic mentioned, I've found this to be really useful. Basically, you just start with the bare minimum and, track your token usage as we are here. If you never hit the 1K mark, you never need to go to 2K. All right, so this is really cool. So we just finished, and you can see here our output tokens chewed up, 6K, right? So we really pushed it. We really got that. Wow, look at that up. You can really see that this model pushed really hard here. My word calculation is likely off. We're likely not counting. It likely got a lot closer here than we think. When you're really pushing the output tokens, this is when you're going to boost up the costs. So this is really powerful, right? So this is an example of using both the streaming with the extended 128K token output. And we can just go ahead and search this so you can see exactly what that looks like. Right, so if we hop down here, you can see we're enabling that beta flag to enable these longer outputs. This is going to be in the description for you to hop in and play with so you can really understand the capabilities. You can also just, give this to a model, give this to your AI coding assistant, and have it generate whatever you're looking for. So last thing I want to show off here is an agent. You can be building your own agents to solve your domain-specific problem right now. And I'm kind of giving you a quick start here with the single file agent, showcasing how exactly you can do this. So before the Claude Code release, we built a Bash and editor agent on top of Claude's Bash and editor tools. And what we can do is this. So I'm going to copy this and run this agent here. So agent loop 1 out of 10. It has 10 compute uses. I asked it to do this, right? The user asked me to create a file called hello.txt with the content hello world inside it. I can use the create file tool to accomplish this task. It sees the parameters of that tool, right? So you can see the tool call right here, reasoning, path, and file text. You can see the thinking budget, right? The thinking tokens, walking through what it needs to do to call the tool. You can see there's the tool call, and then there's the file created response, right? So this is what that response looks like. You can see we have the response, raw text, and then we have the actual tool use. That's all the agent needed to do here, right? So it's now calling the complete task tool, letting me know that it is done. Just like Claude Code here, we have an agent that has a series of tools. And if we just look at tools, we can see here that we have, a nice slew of tools here. This agent has a view file tool. It has a create file tool. It has string replace, insert line, so on and so forth. Here we have our own kind of, mini version of Claude Code. And the idea here, again, is the same. You can build powerful agents that can help you solve your domain-specific problem by giving it the right tools that you would need to solve the problem, and by fueling it with a powerful model like Claude 3.7 Sonnet. If we scroll to the top and we run this prompt here, you can see duplicate whatever text is in hello.txt 10 times on new lines. Then create a markdown file, JSON file, and YAML file with the same content in the format for that file type. And you can see here I'm upping the compute budget, and I'm also giving it 2K thinking tokens. Okay, so I'll copy this, clear, and fire this off. We do have that hello world text right here. So we can open that up. You can see that. And now it's walking through this process, right? So it's calling view file. It's calling string replace. It's calling create file, right? It's creating the markdown file. Now it's creating that JSON file. You can see it's calling the create file tool over and over. And now it's done. Okay. So, this is really cool, right? We have our own Bash file agent operating for us, right? Completing arbitrary tasks because we've given it the right set of tools, the right prompt, and a powerful enough model, Claude 3.7 Sonnet, to accomplish the job and call the right tools. This is why tool calling is so important. This is why Claude 3.7 Sonnet is an absolute crash out critical release, okay? It just gives you everything you need to not only, create great prompts, great prompt chains, but also to take the next step in the composition of generative AI to the next step to agents, okay? When you think of agents, this is what you should be really thinking about. It's this composition of tools and the right prompt and a good enough model to understand what you want done. And this is the agent, right? This is the agent. Okay, so I know I'm repeating myself over and over. It's just you really have to kind of nail the point again and again to really understand how important this is. And you can see at the end here, our powerful model, our hybrid reasoner base model is calling complete task because it knows that it's done, right? It fully is aware that it's completed the prompt we asked it to complete, okay? And you can see it did it. How much compute did that take? So it took 6 compute loops, all right? So that's great. If we run GS or get status, you can see here, look at all these files it created, right? Look at how much work it can do. Obviously, I know, simple examples, but you can see the power of the tool calling capabilities of the agent with the model, right? So we can go ahead and open this up, hello.json, look at that. Hello.markdown, check that out. Hello.yaml, perfect YAML format. And we have our other files here generated by our other agents, generated by Claude Code. I hope you can kind of see where things are going. I hope you can see why this is so important. This is just such an important release. Lots of details here, documentation, all here for you. check it out. Get yourself ramped up super quickly with this code base and understand the capabilities of this model. This is a very, very powerful model. And, again, let me know what you think about my ranking. When we zoom out and take a look at the bigger picture, it can be really easy to fixate on a single day or a single release, but every once in a while there's a release that really moves things forward. And Anthropic is really becoming that brand name of when Anthropic moves, when they think, when they say something. It's very, very important to pay attention because it's what they're saying on the blog, but it's exactly what they're saying and what they're showing that really matters. A lot of really fantastic stuff here. When we zoom out a little bit, when we look at the larger trend, what does the release of Claude 3.7 Sonnet mean for us engineers? And what does Claude Code mean? It means exactly as I've been saying, as I've been predicting and communicating, capable agents are here. They're getting rolled out, and the people, the engineers, the builders that have them are taking that next step. They're getting that next level of asymmetric returns on their time by using agents. When you combine it with a powerful next generation hybrid model, right? Base plus reasoning rolled into one. What we can do and the systems that can be built, it's not clear what we can do with these tools now. It's not clear what one single agent can do. The only thing that's clear is that agents are here and you can now take your compute to a new level. There's now a framework and a set of infrastructure you can use inside of your tools, embedded inside of the agent architecture to take your compute usage to the next level. And as I've been saying on the channel, there is a causal relationship between your compute usage and the amount of value you can create as an engineer and as a builder. Now, here's the question that you can keep asking yourself to propel yourself forward. Do you have the right agent connected to the right tools to solve the problems you're facing? If you made it to the end and you found my take valuable, if you found the information valuable, hit the like, leave a comment, subscribe, stay focused, and keep building.